Hello everyone, Lytro Storm here, and today we are back with part 2 of What If Bardock Was Sent to the Future. You guys have really been anticipating this one, 0.5 and 1. You definitely need to. But I suppose I can provide a bit of a recap for part 1, so you're really going to have to watch part 0.5. So what happened was Bardock and the Z-Fighters overtook Vegeta and Nappa, losing Chaozu and Piccolo along the way. Vegeta brings up Frieza just in time for Bardock to spare his and Nappa's lives. Eventually, the Z-Fighters take down the Ginyu Force, with Goku having to be healed in a healing tank. Afterward, Bardock and the others plan to go wish for Chaozu to be brought back, before Vegeta and Nappa wake up from their naps. However, they never actually took one, and Vegeta shows his true power equal to that of Bardock's at 1 million versus Vegeta. Who will win? Well, guess what? I get to tell you right now. But before I do, Alright, so we pick up right where we left off. Vegeta and Bardock staring each other down. Bardock makes only one try to talk Vegeta down, telling him that they can deal with this after grits his teeth before saying a line that he's seen saying to Vegeta in Fighters.
There's only one thing we Saiyans do, right? Ah!
Single hit on each other. Their fight had begun minutes ago, but neither of them were ready to stop. Neither of them would be until the other was on the ground. We cut back to Nappa and the Z-Fighters, who are just about to summon Porunga with the help of Dende. Just as the dragon is being called upon, Raditz asks Nappa why he's going to stay so close to Vegeta if he's just gonna send you around to a fight you can't win. Nappa point, Raditz has had it. His whole life this has been happening, and he cannot let this stand any longer. He forces Nappa upward and slams him onto the ground on his back so that he can look him in the eyes. Just as Piccolo is brought back, Raditz punches Nappa several times, forcing him to bleed. The long-haired Saiyan rages out, and Nappa struggles to get back up, but he can't, allowing for Raditz to hit him over and over and over again, focusing more so on what to do with the remaining wishes. His next choice is to obviously bring back Chaozu, so that happens while Raditz prepares to blast Nappa one last time to mark his death. But Krillin and Yamcha both blast Raditz hard enough to knock him off Nappa, but not enough to deal, seeing the wishes have been made, so the last one should just be saved for later. Raditz finally calms down, as Nappa is barely even capable of moving right now. Raditz apologizes, but all of a sudden, a massive energy approaches them. Nappa smirks, telling them that Frieza is coming to kill them all. Guru then dies of sorrow, due to feeling nailed slowly die, which means no fusion for Piccolo. The gang prepare to stand their ground, and we cut back to Vegeta versus Bardock. The two are still going at it evenly, but at this point they've both managed to hit each other several times. Eventually, Vegeta laughs, saying that he's improved a certain attack before flying into the air. Bardock tells him to bring it on, so Vegeta, since he is pushed and drived by Bardock, Goku, Raditz, all of them, he created it while he was training in the hyperbolic time chamber, which remember I mentioned in the first part. To combat the Super Gallic Gun, Bardock fires a lanced Kamehameha just like back on Earth. But Vegeta's new attack took Bardock's over. Vegeta smiles, yelling that he's won. He's finally won. But then he senses Bardock's energy raise right back up to 1 million. As the dust clears, Bardock's hands light up with purple and blue as he charges up a Kamehameha, but spreads his arms apart and darts toward Vegeta, yelling, "Lance double Kamehameha!" Vegeta is launched away into a mountain before slamming back into the ground. I decided it might be useful to bring along, but didn't give it to Kakarot because against Frieza would be the best time. But it looks like plans changed. And as for that new move, you really thought I wouldn't form a move more powerful than any other I've used for when we fight Frieza? Your Gallic Gun wasn't a match for me on Earth, and it isn't a match here, Bardock says, before leaving the weakened Vegeta on the ground. Vegeta is left badly injured, with only a few words barely coming from his mouth. You can't be a super... Now taking on the Z-Fighters, who have power levels varying from 86,000 to 200,000. They manage to outdo Frieza at 50% of his form's capabilities. But once he reaches his max power 530,000, he is beating all of them quite handily, until Bardock arrives. He and Frieza meet eyes, and Frieza remembers him, shocked. He yells, asking how he could have survived, as he was directly hit by his supernova back on planet Vegeta, and Bardock replies, "I'm not sure myself. I guess life itself gave me a second chance, and I'm gonna use that chance wisely. So come on, let's go, Frieza!" Bardock rushes in, and due to his power being almost double Frieza's, he's bodying him easily. Eventually, he charges up a blue sphere of energy, and Frieza stands up, forming a barrier around himself, and screaming. Bardock yells that isn't going to be enough to survive this, before hurling the blast at him. Bardock thinks that he finally got revenge, but somehow Frieza is back up, and he senses his energy is stronger than before. Bardock turns around to look, seeing that now Frieza was standing tall, and he states that if a scouter was present, his power would be over that of 1,000,000. Bardock isn't sure what power level he would be, but he can sense that Frieza is slightly above him. This isn't going to be as easy as he thought. The two go at it evenly matched due to Bardock being able to raise his energy with attacks, and he can sense energy. Not to mention he's also way more skilled, as Frieza's just a brawler. This fight is basically one of those double face punch fights that Dragon Ball always has. However, Krillin launches a Destructo Disc that splits into several, and Frieza dodges most of them, only losing his tail. However, one that narrowly missed heads away from Frieza, but is launched back at him by a purple blast. Frieza loses one of his fingers from that, and everyone is shocked that it came back around, even Krillin. But that's when they see Nappa on the ground holding out his hand. He was able to redirect it using all of his energy to form an attack strong enough to knock it back around. Frieza turns around and death beams Nappa in the heart, killing him before powering up to his next form. Bardock yells out, but when he rushes over to Frieza, he's already transformed, blowing him back and takes him on again, but quickly starts getting beaten. Eventually, the Z-Fighters step in to take over for him, and manage to do a little bit of work stalling, but as soon as they start fighting, Bardock falls to the ground, having had his energy nearly completely consumed from fighting Frieza's second and third forms. Dende quickly runs over and heals him, putting his power level at 2,000,000, above Frieza's third. Decided to take all of these worms down, powering up to his final form. Bardock yelled for Krillin, Yamcha, and Tenshinhan to take Dende over to Vegeta and heal him, as he would be a massive help to the fight, even if they're enemies. Bardock looked over to Frieza, slapping Raditz with his tail, and the father and son stood side by side, prepared to fight. The two rush at Frieza from both sides, and are easily taken down swiftly. Bardock nearly lands a blow, but fails anyway. However, once they're both knocked down, they repeatedly use the afterimage technique to move past each other several times, and they both appear above Frieza, launching a double Sunday and a Tyrant Lancer. Both of the attacks land together, knocking Frieza back. However, suddenly Raditz disappears, and then Bardock sees Frieza grabbing him by his arm with his tail for slamming him into the ground. This breaks Raditz's arm, and Bardock yells out, trying to attack but misses, with Frieza appearing behind him and grabbing his neck. This fight was not going in their favor. Right eye only halfway opened, seeing them land. His eye closed, and somehow opens fully, with his other one opening as well. He stands up and grabs Dende, charging a key ball in his hand. He yells, asking where the low-class warriors are, but Tenshinhan tells him that Bardock had sent them here to bring you back. Vegeta gets up, his power level 2,000,000 just like Bardock's. As he sensed that, Vegeta takes off toward the battlefield, and the Z-Fighters follow, but Vegeta is way faster and stronger. Bardock continues trying to hit Frieza, but fails, clutching his arm. Frieza shares a glance with his father, telling him that he's sorry he's failed him. Bardock responds shakily, saying that it isn't his fault. Just as Frieza is about to finish choking him out, he's kicked in the face, and it's revealed that Vegeta has arrived in others' minds, while Vegeta and Frieza fight, with Vegeta losing badly, just like in canon.
Yeah!
Raditz says, before giving Bardock and blasts his body to ashes, enraging Bardock. Just then, Dende and the Earthlings arrive, and heals Bardock, last second, but that's when Frieza blasts Dende as well, killing him. By that point, telling that this is where Frieza falls. His base power is now 3,000,000, so when he looks toward the Power Ball and transforms into an Nizaru with a power level of 30,000,000, he obliterates Frieza easily until he raises his energy to half of his power, easily beating Bardock down until he destroys the power. It isn't gonna cut it. Everyone works together, but Tenshinhan just ends up dying by overusing the Tri-Beam. Everyone else is to give him their energy, and they do, allowing for him to rush at Frieza with another lanced double Kamehameha, dealing a lot of good damage. That's when Frieza gets angry and finishes off Vegeta, before lifting Goku into the air with telekinesis. Bardock yells for him to stop, and to put Kakarot down. Frieza laughs, forcing his hand closed, and Goku to explode. Bardock looks on in horror. That turns into anger, and he starts telling him that he'll pay for this. His hair flickers from gold to black, until eventually, he's transformed into a Super Saiyan. He tells Krillin and Yamcha to get out of there now, and he and Frieza begin their escalated fight. Frieza yells, asking who he is. Bardock responds with this.
I am all of the Saiyans you killed. All of them. We are one and the same. Frieza, for the deaths of all the Saiyans you've caused, I'm going to kill you.
This fight begins, and it goes roughly the same as Goku vs. Frieza. At first one-sided in Bardock's favor, but eventually Frieza powers up to his max and the fight picks up. It's clear Bardock is winning, but he's still getting hit and blasted by Frieza, and they do damage. Of course, before this Frieza blasts the planet, he creates a supernova, but Bardock is ready this time. In his right hand, he powers up a blue sphere, and as the supernova moves toward him, he throws the ball at full power, and it speeds out the blast. Eventually, it cuts straight through the attack, darting at Frieza, hitting him into a mountain. Bardock then holds back the supernova with his bare hands, but he's getting pushed back a lot. He emanates ki all around his body and explodes it, destroying the supernova, but draining his energy massively. Bardock huffs and puffs, but he thinks that he's finally won. Frieza jumps back, charging at Bardock from the sky. Bardock is hit in the chest by this attack, but blocks Frieza's next kick, grabbing what remains of his tail and swinging him around until he pushes him away, firing a small blast at him. Bardock knows this won't be the end, so he prepares for the next attack by getting into his fighting stance. He looks over to see Porunga rising from the sidelines before disappearing. A wish from Kami, now that Piccolo is alive, was used to bring everyone on Namek back, and the last wish from Porunga was to send everyone, besides him and Frieza, to Earth. That's when a purple disc comes flying at Bardock, and he jumps over it. Another one comes and he ducks. That's when the ruler of the universe returns, once again launching himself at his Saiyan enemy. Bardock blocks the attack, flipping over him, and the two stare at each other, not moving. Frieza jumps to attack, but he's sliced in half. Frieza begs Bardock for mercy, and Bardock looks at him with a start again asking for mercy. And Bardock steps on his back. The two meet eyes again as Bardock finally speaks.
That's what I've been waiting to hear for a long time.
He then uses his foot to transfer a small amount of energy, even smaller than what Goku gave Frieza in canon. The Saiyan begins flying off, and Frieza uses this energy to blast at him, closing his hand. Frieza then begins emanating Bardock's blue ki and turns to a stern look, escaping on one of the Guinea Force's pods to Yardrat. Once there, he trains and unlocks instant transmission just like Goku did. Goku had become his other rival. Also during those 6 months, we're hearing what had happened in the Saiyan and Frieza sagas, and with the small influence of his father, grandfather, and eventually, future Trunks arrives. Although, he has longer hair than our original version. He doesn't find Frieza or King Cold, who isn't shocked at all that Nappa and Goku are on Earth. He starts talking to all of them, until eventually Bardock arrives. Either way, Trunks gives Goku the medicine for the heart virus, telling him to make sure he takes it, and that is where we're going to end part 2. The future timeline has been affected by this what if change, and it looks like a big one. The next video in the series will be a 2.5, which will cover the story of our future timeline. But for now, that's all. Hopefully you all enjoyed it, comment your requests for future videos, and subscribe. Thank you for watching, have a great day.